It's 2015. David Bowie, the starman himself, rock and roll royalty, the man who invented reinvention, is in his studio working on what will become his final album. He's 68 years old, secretly battling cancer, and he's got his longtime producer, Tony Visconti, by his side. They're about to create Black Star, an album so haunting and experimental that critics would later call it a parting gift and a masterpiece. And what's playing in the studio while they work? Kendrick Lamar's To Pimp a Butterfly. Wait, what? By the way, welcome to Celebrity Rap Life, where the spotlight never fades, comebacks are built from chaos, and every headline tells a deeper story. Like, subscribe, and stay locked in because the story is about to unfold. When Tony Visconti dropped this information years after Bowie's death, the music world collectively lost its mind. Not in a bad way, in that beautiful, oh my god, this makes so much sense kind of way that only happens when you discover a secret connection between two artists you never thought would exist in the same sentence. Visconti said, and I quote, "David was immediately enthralled by Kendrick's groundbreaking virtuosity. We were listening to a lot of Kendrick. We loved the fact he was so open-minded and he didn't do a straight-up hip-hop record. He threw everything on there, and that's exactly what we wanted to do." Let that sink in. One of the most innovative rock artists in history, in his final creative act, was taking notes from a rapper from Compton, not because it was trendy, not because someone told him to stay relevant, but because he recognized something real, another artist who refused to be put in a box, who was willing to break every rule to make something that mattered. Here's the thing about David Bowie that younger generations might not fully get. This man did not play it safe. Ever. He started as a mod rocker, became Ziggy Stardust, an androgynous alien rock star, pivoted to the Thin White Duke, a fascist-adjacent character he later regretted, went full electronic with Brian Eno in Berlin, tried drum and bass in the 90s, and basically spent his entire career asking, what if I just didn't do what people expect? So when you think about it that way, of course he was listening to Kendrick. Of course he was studying an album that fused jazz, funk, soul, spoken word poetry, and West Coast hip-hop into something that sounded like nothing else in 2015. That's exactly the kind of ambitious, genre-destroying work that would catch Bowie's attention. But still, the optics are wild. Imagine being Kendrick Lamar and finding out that David Bowie was in the studio vibing to your album while creating his swan song. Like, how do you even process that information? Do you frame the article? Do you cry? Do you just sit there like, yeah, that's reasonable, just a casual Tuesday? Let's talk about why To Pimp a Butterfly hit different. When it dropped in March 2015, it wasn't what anyone expected from Kendrick. His previous album, Good Kid, Mad City, was more accessible, more traditionally hip-hop. It was brilliant, but it was also digestible. To Pimp a Butterfly was not digestible. It was challenging, uncomfortable, jazz-infused tracks that didn't follow standard song structures, spoken word segments, a 12-minute closing track that was literally Kendrick having a conversation with Tupac's ghost via old interview clips. The whole album was about blackness, trauma, success, survivor's guilt, systematic oppression, and personal demons. It wasn't trying to get radio play. It wasn't designed for easy listening. It was art with a capital A, the kind of project that says, I'm going to do this my way, and if you don't like it, that's genuinely okay, because I'm not making this for you. I'm making this because I have to. And that's what Bowie heard. Not just good music, but the sound of an artist refusing to compromise, throwing every influence and idea into the mix because the vision demanded it. Now, let's look at what Bowie created with that inspiration. Black Star dropped on January 8, 2016, Bowie's 69th birthday. 2 days later, he died. The world realized that this album wasn't just experimental art, it was a goodbye letter. The album is weird, like beautifully, intentionally weird, like what am I even listening to weird? It opens with a 10-minute title track that sounds like it's from another dimension. There's jazz influence all over it. The production is intentionally unsettling. The lyrics are cryptic and dark. Bowie literally sings, "Look up here, I'm in heaven," on a track called Lazarus, and we didn't know what it meant until after he was gone. If you're not already subscribed to this channel, now is the time, because what I'm about to break down next will completely change how you hear both of these albums. Hit that button. The parallels between Black Star and To Pimp a Butterfly are genuinely stunning once you know to look for them. Both albums refuse to give you easy answers. Both incorporate jazz in ways that feel essential, not decorative. Both are deeply personal statements from artists staring down mortality. Kendrick metaphorically through fame and survivor's guilt. Bowie literally through terminal illness. Both are challenging listens that reward multiple replays. Both trust the audience to sit with discomfort. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Both albums are about transformation and death. To Pimp a Butterfly is about the death of innocence, the death of the old self, the complicated feelings that come with success when everyone you knew is still struggling. Kendrick literally has a track called You, where he's drunk in a hotel room having a breakdown, screaming at himself. Black Star is about literal death, but also about artistic transformation, legacy, and what you leave behind. When Visconti said they were inspired by Kendrick's openness to throwing everything into the mix, it wasn't just about production techniques or genre blending. It was about emotional honesty, raw vulnerability, the willingness to make something that might alienate some fans because it's what the art needs to be. If you're younger and you know Kendrick, but Bowie is just that space guy from the olden days to you, this should matter, because what this story really shows is that real artists recognize real art, regardless of genre, generation, or background. Bowie could have spent his final album playing it safe, giving fans one more collection of radio-friendly rock songs. Instead, he listened to a rapper 40 years younger than him and thought, yes, that's the energy I want to channel. He saw someone taking risks and said, I'm 68 years old, dying of cancer, and I'm going to take risks too. That's not just artistic integrity, that's a masterclass in staying curious, staying open, and respecting the craft no matter where it comes from. Here's the part that makes this whole story even more profound. Kendrick didn't know about any of this until after Bowie died. He had no idea that one of his musical heroes was studying his work in real time. In interviews after Visconti revealed this, Kendrick was visibly moved. He called it overwhelming and humbling. And that's the twist. This wasn't a collaboration. This wasn't Bowie reaching out for a cosign or trying to get street cred. This was pure artistic admiration happening in private, one master learning from another master's approach to breaking rules. Bowie never needed to tell anyone he was inspired by Kendrick. He never needed to name drop for clout. He just took what resonated with him and filtered it through his own lens to create something entirely new. That's how influence is supposed to work. In an era where everyone's trying to manufacture viral moments and force collaborations for streams, this story is a reminder that real artists recognize real art, regardless of age, race, genre, or era. David Bowie spent his entire life reinventing himself, pushing boundaries, and refusing to be predictable. Even at the end, even facing death, he was still learning, still evolving, still paying attention to what the next generation was doing. That's not just artistic integrity, that's a masterclass in staying curious, staying open, and respecting the craft no matter where it comes from. Rest in power to the Starman. Long live Kendrick, and long live the weird, wonderful, unexpected connections that make music worth caring about. Welcome to the culture. Hit subscribe, stay curious, and never stop listening.